Morning, YouTube. Thursday, almost the end of the week. Celebrate. Um, Last night, the Leafs were in Washington after playing at home to Minnesota the night before. So I was expecting them to maybe be a little tired, whatever, some sort of excuse to not put in the best performance. But lo and behold, they came out and played a pretty good first period. And this game actually ended up unfolding kind of the opposite as the game did the night before when Minnesota came to town. In that game, Minnesota jumped out to an early lead in the first period, and then the Leafs came storming back in the second period and kind of blew things wide open before coasting at home in the third period. In this game is kind of the exact opposite of that. First period, the Leafs came out and opened the scoring in the first period while killing a penalty, actually. Trevor Moore did some good work to rag the puck and carry it deep into the Washington end before just kind of putting a weak shot on net, but it kind of bounced around a bit, and then Kapanen was Johnny on the spot right in the crease and just tapped it in for the 1-0 lead. And then not long after that, Kapanen again with another good play, a long aerial pass that sprung the rookie Mikheyev for a breakaway, and he put one over. They were playing their backup Washington Samsonov or something like that. I'd never heard of him before, but he put one blocker side on him, and the Leafs went up 2-0. So things were looking great. And of course, they started Hutchison because it was the second game in a back-to-back situation. So things were looking good, but Washington, with about 1 minute left in the period, managed to get on the board, and those goals are always killers. You know, you're expecting go to the break 2-0 up 2-0, and then all of a sudden it's 2-1. And you just think, oh, if only we'd shut things down, we'd still be pitching a goose egg right now and have a 2-goal lead instead of a 1-goal lead. So that kind of hurt. And then in the second period, that's when things kind of busted wide open. Washington sprung for 3 goals in a row in the third period to make it 4-2. And the Leafs just didn't have anything going in the second period. They just couldn't. Washington finally found their stride, and I guess they were pissed off because they had put in a bad performance. I don't know if they played the night before or 2 nights before, but they didn't have a great game in their previous game, and that's why they were playing the backup, because Holtby let in a bunch of goals, and so that was why things were the way they were with Washington, and they definitely took it to the Leafs in the second period, but they kind of stabilized things, the Leafs, as the period kind of wound down, and then in the third period they kind of play was more even again. And they managed to pull the goalie with it was just under 3 minutes left. And it looked like Washington had control of the puck and were going to come down the ice and attempt a chance on the open net. But Muzzin made a great play on an Ovi kind of clearing pass and pinched in to keep the puck alive. And eventually Tavares ripped a nice one blocker side on the backup as well. And all of a sudden it was 4-3 with, still a significant amount of time left. So they pressed and they had a lot of zone time with the goalie out, but they just couldn't get a good shot. They couldn't get a good chance, and they obviously didn't get a goal to tie it up. So it was one of those games where, second game of a back-to-back with travel, playing the backup goalie against a good team, and you're like, yeah, they shouldn't win this game. But the fact that they were in it and did have a lead for a while and made a play to come back late in the game, were all encouraging signs. So I'm upset that they didn't win and gave 2 points to Washington, but at the same time, it was you can't ask for much more in that type of situation. So, and Hutchison looked okay. He didn't look great, but he also didn't look bad. He had a bit of rebound control issues in searching for pucks that were kind of dropping around him and stuff like that. But otherwise, I thought, with that Caps team, with how much firepower they have, I thought he, considering he's only played a couple games so far this year, he's the backup role, he's thrown to the Wolves in the second of a back-to-back, given all the circumstances that go into his games and stuff, I thought he played pretty good, or pretty well for given the circumstances last night. So, and I think I think he's a good goalie. I think he's going to be a good backup for them unless they quit on him. I think he just needs more time to practice and get some game action and stuff like that. So I think he's going to be a good fit, but that remains to be seen. Choices aren't up to me, right? But yeah, a shame they couldn't get the 2 points, but we will move on from here. They got Columbus and then Boston, I think it is, something like that, coming up in the near future. And so tough games, but important games, especially that Boston game. I would really like some revenge against them, but we will see what happens. Until then, have a great rest of the week, and weekend's almost here. Bye-bye.